Okay, so I think we can begin. Sorry for a bit of the delay because of always technical difficulties, right? Today's session is panel A. Let me check the topic first. Sorry about Ping having so many pages because of the eyesight. That's why we need large fonts here. The topic today is overcoming challenges in implementing local railway solutions. We have 4 very experienced panelists, 3 from private sectors and 1 from research center. The first one, first I will start by introducing each of our panelists, and then we start each asking them questions, right? And hopefully we can develop more on the discussion. And I think if we have time at the end, there might be some questions around, but we will see. So the first panelist that we have over here is Mr. Jearanaisilawong. He's currently the CEO of Deutsche Consult Asia, which is responsible for all Deutsche global activities in Southeast Asia. He's also a treasurer of GTRA, or German-Thai Railway Associations. Jürgen, if I may call you? Yes. Okay. Has been around for 30 years in Southeast Asia and Thailand, and has involved in a number of major transportations since the first mass transit plan in 1979, 78. The company. but the work itself has started from 1995 until now, and he has a long list of the projects that have been involved, including this Blue Line Extension project and this South Line of SRT. The next panelist, I'm going to go by the chair here, by the seating here. Next is Ms. Jearanaisilawong, or Maud. She is currently a business in the business development, SK Polymer, which is a family business with 33 years experience in OEM, especially in molded rubbers and plastic parts for automobiles and electrical appliances and medical devices. Now they use the knowledge to develop parts for the railway system, including rubber level crossing, platform gap filler, fastening components, and under ballast mat. Well, SK Polymer is about to file for public offering, so you can talk in right behind after this to reserve the stocks when it becomes available. Next in the list of our panelists is Mr. Paul Evans, who is currently the Managing Director of Infra Asia Thailand. He starts his railway career under British Rail Signalling and Telecom apprenticeship in the 1980s. And now he has provided consulting services on Metro Main Line and BRT on international projects for the last 30 years in the Asian region and over 20 years based in Thailand. Infra Asia Thailand formed in 2003 and has provided consultancies, engineering, and systems assurance support in Thailand, including SRT double tracking, Bangkok metros, green, blue, purple, pink, yellow, orange. That's all of the lines, right? Pretty much. Yeah. HSR and many feasibility studies for planned new lines. The last panelist that we have over there is my colleague and one of the bosses. One of my bosses. He is currently assistant to the president, Associate Professor Dr. Nattapon Makaratat, who is also head of Rail Research and Innovation Center, Technopark at King Mongkut University of Technology, North Bangkok. Professor Nattapong is a professor in civil engineering in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering Technology. He has worked in civil engineering as structural engineer for the last 20 years and has a professional license for senior professional engineer in civil engineering as well. So his research expertise is in materials and construction technology. So without further ado, please give a round of applause for the panelists. Thank you. So first, we begin our discussion by asking about the key challenge. The topic for this talk is the local railway solution, especially implementing the local railway challenge implementing local railway solution. So what are the key challenges? Would you like to start, or we can go? Sorry to be sitting next to me. That is usually the first one to talk.
Thank you, no problem. Yeah, I think the key challenges are, first of all, we have many different systems. We have meter gauge, we have standard gauge, we have MRT, we have LRT, we have feeder systems, we have different suppliers, many operators. So it's not one solution, definitely. That's first of all. And we have also different rolling stock, and where we have been much better, in my opinion, is we have more experts, because the universities are offering all railway engineering curricula. So there's really a big hope that this is getting better. But the situation in Bangkok has improved really a lot since I'm here. You know, many people who come from optimum cities may say it's not optimum, but it has drastically improved the last 20 years. But 80% of the country is still rural and is not connected, you know. And I see the biggest problem is that we are not coming from the end. We not define what is the demand, what is the speed of connection, what is the service standard we need, you know. And we just discuss solutions point by point, instead of first defining what capacity the system should have, which speed the system should have, you know, and which kind of passengers and population groups we want to serve, you know, which has big impact. And with this, we only create small solutions, and we don't get the big picture which is really needed for Thailand. Right now, for example, the trackbed maintenance has huge impact on the speed of the cars, you know. Actually, it could be 160 or 140, but if the trackbed is not good, it's only 140. You know, if you have one monorail, you have a side platform. So for older people, it's easy to exit and enter the station. But if you have double track, you have center platforms, you need to go up the stair and down, so service standard going down. So you're attracting actually another group of people. If you want to go from Bangkok to Hua Hin, it takes 4 hours with the train. With the family, they would not do that, you know. So you need to think about which people you want to attract, which problems you want to solve, and which kind of demand you can serve at the end with the system. And if you do this from the end, I think many problems can be solved, you know. The other problem with the different systems is also spare parts. It just makes the travel costs very expensive. And also with regard to the number of experts, the number of organizations who have to serve, it's adding up. So in each segment, complexity create additional cost and complexities. So we need to make it simple. We need to address the problem from the end and try to find a unique solution. And that includes also the feeder systems to the station, the mode transfer from pedestrian, from car parking to the stations. So all areas need to be addressed. And I think if this is be done, Bangkok can be done very efficiently in short period of time, and the whole rest of the country is 80% of the population we have to see as well.
That's a very good point. We first start by having so many systems, right? And that creates a lot of problem already. Would you like something else to add, Paul?
I certainly can. Thank you very much for inviting me to this presentation. I must say, actually, from this morning, I was very impressed with the initiatives that were demonstrated by the Thai local industries, universities, etc. And it's beginning to address many of the issues we found historically. So that's very encouraging. Obviously, for local solutions, well, from the operator's perspective, one of the traditional issues is the reliance on international railway suppliers for the systems. This results in costs, logistics questions, etc. So yes, they'd be very interested in finding local solutions. one of the issues you're always going to have on an existing railway is the interfacing issues with all the legacy systems, particularly if they're from foreign suppliers. And the local companies will find it's difficult how to obtain that information, technical support from the original suppliers. There's lots of confidentiality issues, all those aspects, particularly for the older solutions in Thailand, where a number of the railways have systems which are 20 plus years old. SRT maybe even older, but certainly the metros now are getting quite mature, and they've been in operation now for over 20 years. So that's always a question mark. If a new supplier, a local supplier, is trying to implement a system, almost certainly it will need to interface with these legacy systems. How do they address that? I've seen it done the hard way, trying to talk to the original suppliers. I've also done more creative ways where they actually get a protocol analyzer and literally sniff the system to reverse engineer the protocols, etc. That's maybe a bit naughty, but sometimes it's the only way you can do these things. So that's a major issue that they may face. Hang on, my crib sheet's just turned off. Knowledge, local expertise. This is obviously one of the key aspects which impacts how a local company can develop a system and how it can be maintained. In Thailand, the expertise level now on railways, technology systems now is very good now. Many engineers in Thailand now have been working on metros and SRT, etc., for over 20 years. So they've accumulated a lot of knowledge and expertise. So that can be tapped. For new companies trying to get into the business, be aware that they're not cheap, those resources. On a Thai base for normal engineering resources, these people come at a premium cost, saying that you need to factor these things into your cost models. However, as we get more projects, more solutions, we'll need more engineers. And that means that the engineering pipeline needs filling, which comes to how do you achieve that? Now, as was presented this morning, there's various initiatives in Thailand now, education and training, because what we need is, rather than trying to get people on-the-job training, which takes time, long learning curve, fill the pipeline at the beginning, so people get trained up in a university, apprenticeships, etc., so they already have a good working knowledge before they come into the system. So the expertise needs addressing in the long term. Okay, at this point in time, I think there's a sufficient expertise for the projects, for the management, for the operations that's there, but there's going to need more and more in the future. So that's a concern. For new systems, when you implement on a railway, it's a very conservative industry. They're reluctant to adopt new systems in many cases. They'd like to because of the benefit they bring, but they're reluctant because of the safety concerns, so the accreditation, how do you prove it, the references. How do you, a new solution, many projects want international references, how do you achieve that? For example, to actually get accreditation for a complicated system with safety aspects, you'll need to go to, at the present, an international accreditation body, an international safety assessor. These people are very expensive, so that all needs to be factored into the costs. This can become a minus point in terms of financial viability of doing it. So more and more so, and again I saw this morning, a local accreditation organisation in Thailand is required to localise that process, make it simpler, quicker, cheaper to achieve, and to work directly with the suppliers when they develop a system. You can try to accredit a system later when it's developed, but it's much better actually being at the beginning so they understand when they're developing that system what you need to do. For instance, if it's a software-based system, you don't just write your code, bang, 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 there it works. You have to do it in a very structured manner. EON 50126 gives you the processes of the RAMs and development over the life cycle, the V-cycle life cycle, develop a software product. Develop, test, validate, verify. When you write your code, you need to make sure it's commented on properly. All these points which people might not be aware of, but they need to be addressed when you're doing it to enable you to get your safety validation for it. Make it easier for the people who are assessing it to do. And I guess one of the other things that's coming up for system people will be cybersecurity. More and more, if it's not, most systems are IT-based, more and more the security of that system, hacking, malicious attacks, etc., excuse me, it's becoming an issue. So we need, for the local suppliers, they need to be aware of that. They need to build in the cybersecurity into the system they're developing. And then to consider the international standards, TS 50701, which is the 2023, I believe, most recent version of the international cybersecurity standards. They need to address those when they're developing that system. And from a commercial point of view, which again was addressed this morning, how to commercialize things, developing these systems can be very expensive, okay? We might be talking, if you're talking like a complex signaling system, you're talking multi-million dollars in investment to develop it. How do you recuperate that development cost? You're not going to get it back in one project. You need multiple projects. There's only so many projects happening in Thailand. How do they get access to the products? How do they guarantee they're going to get enough projects? Or alternatively, they have to look at the international market. Can they sell the theory, increase the customer base, the revenue, etc., the longevity of their product? Can they sell it abroad? Now that will need addressing, because gaining access to the international web business is even more tricky, and that's where it would need assistance from particularly the government, the university, to help them address access to those areas. And lastly, so that's basically some of the ideas where you have issues as a local developer trying to develop a solution to put into the existing system. The last one being from the operator's point of view, how do they justify that expense, particularly on an existing railway? They have limited revenue, cash flow, they have to be careful. They like new systems, but unless they're going to pay a lot of money for a system unless they get some benefit. So you need to think carefully, what's the return on investment? Does it help them save money? So it's a benefit to them operationally and revenue-wise. So you need to consider that as well when you're preparing your product and trying to sell it and market it. Thank you.
Wow, so many challenges. I make a list. This is 2 of them already, 2 pages full already. But still, it's still based on the concepts of we have many systems, and we need to point out like how to acquire information, right? Including the aging system, and we still need knowledge to implement different systems, experts from different fields, and to actually commercialize a local product still requires a lot of qualifications and standard and accreditation. That is a very interesting point. Those of them, all of them are interesting. So if you have something to add,
that's not for me for now.
No.
I'm stealing the microphone from you.
Yes, definitely adding to that from the perspective of makers and manufacturers like us, as both of them has mentioned, there's currently no or not enough Thai industry standards, the TIS, for the railway system products in our existing system. And we're Thai people. If we don't believe in the Thai industry standards, then what are we going to believe in this near future? So, for example, I've contacted many of the U.S. Customers and prospects, and they've strongly complied to the made in USA policy. And so it is very much possible to also elevate the Thai industry standard and have the made in Thailand preferable standard happens as well, in which the SOTLAW, RTRDA, and SWTC, MTech, NSTDA, or WAWA, TISTR can definitely help support and facilitate that to happen. Really looking forward to seeing that collaboration going on. And the second one would actually be the policy. The existing TOR, or the term of reference by the State Railway of Thailand, is currently not allowing enough free competition in the market. Some of the specifications are locked in favor of very few manufacturers. And so if that could be improved, then it would definitely sustainably help both the economically and both economically and many other ways. Thank you.
Wow, this is from the voice of a local maker. Still similar issue with the standards and still with the policies, right? There are so many ways. Now we would like to hear the concerns from the research point of view, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the moderator. For me, the first question is the key challenge. Regarding the question on the key technical and operational challenge that local railway operator face, I believe the following points are crucial. For me, I have 4 points. The first one is the integration of system. Many local railway operators struggle with integrating new technology with outdated legacy system. And the effective solution could include phase implementation strategy and investing in adaptable software that allow for gradual integration. And the second one is the funding and resource allocation. Limited financial resources often hinder the adoption of new solutions. Establishing robust partnership with public and private sector can provide the crucial funding and resources. Clear communication of the long-term benefits of this investment can also foster support. And the third one is skill gap. This is often a lack of skilled personnel who can operate and maintain modernized system. Continuous training program and the partnership with educational institute can help bridge this gap. And the last one is the regulatory compliance. Navigating regulatory framework can be complex. Engaging with the regulatory body early in the solution development process can facilitate smoother and implementation. That is all my points. Thank you.
Well, surprisingly, everyone sees similar problems, right? Including integration of technology. We don't have enough money. We don't have experts. And then stable regulation is always a problem. It's a major hurdle. Is there a way, or how can we address this challenge? I think Professor Nattapong already addressed some of these. Maybe we move on to the next. Would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think we could address some of these challenges if we unify the systems, because, rolling stock depend on the rail, the systems are all connected. You cannot just separate systems. You have train control systems, signaling systems, they all need to be compatible. If you have many different systems from different years, it's very difficult to optimize, especially if they were bought without the view for the future, what kind of demand they should serve, how the speed should play a role, what the service standard should be. This is the #1 question right now to be addressed, and then all these systems can be optimized, and we can try to reach the goal as quick as possible.
Would you like to add to that, or that unifying the system?
That was in terms of the operational size, but and just similar to how Ajahn just mentioned, educational institutions is actually a perfect facilitator to help connect between manufacturers and makers like us and with the other associations, for example, the Wasatch Association, the Thai Subcon Association, together with the consultants and operators and contractors and project managers like these guys. So that would definitely be a great picture to see.
Please.
Yeah, just one little bit to add on to that. Okay, yes, we need efficient coordination and communications between all sides. You need the universities, you need the academic, you need the professional, you need the engineering, you need the suppliers. How to achieve a cohesive and efficient method of providing that needs to be looked at seriously. The other thing which maybe could naturally satisfy part of that is standards body, which I know has been developed. If you start developing, there's lots of international standards, which in many cases you have to follow, but if we can now localize those standards to and develop our own Thai standards, then all the parties, that's a natural way of bringing all the parties together to develop those standards, to develop the solutions, interfaces, protocols, so that there's a common understanding amongst all parties. So then when you want to implement a new solution, everyone can go work on standards they fully understand and know how to apply, and that will give a greater advantage to the local system developers, etc.
Please. Would you like to add more? Oh, compatibility,
and are compatible. That's
that's
the most important. If you want to expand the system and optimize, yes.
Right. It seems that many of our systems are designed separately, as you said, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Professor, would you like to add on our current conversation? Okay. Oh, it seems like from this point of view, policy is always a problem. Yeah, if we can unify the policy or having the shared foresight for all the parties, then we probably can accomplish and unify the system in that sense. It's very difficult in Thai context. Anyway, so so we have both local and the new system, right? The global and the national system and the local system, and then there are regional systems. How is it a way that we can connect them better so that we can achieve a better efficiency, perhaps? Yeah.
I actually don't have the answer for that, but I have questions for you guys. Whether this is a practical and if there's like a gradual way to do this. Similar to how all of Europe is connected with the same gauge of rail tracks, is it how do you guys think that if Thailand, which is like, you know, AEC and ASEAN and plus Japan plus China, should also be connected with the same gauge of rail tracks? I'm just throwing questions at my fellow panelists, and
absolutely.
There we go.
That's absolutely the point. You know, if we don't cooperate like in Europe, for example, where we have also all standard gauge, you know, and we don't discuss it even, you know, we may go for many years in the wrong direction, and then just in 10 years' time, maybe all countries around Thailand have the standard gauge, you know. So these discussions must be held now, right now, and then there must be pressure from all sides, you know, because right now you're operating meter gauge and you're planning standard gauge for high-speed rail and many other systems. So if you want to optimize, you need to make decisions right now, and your governments need to talk on the high level among ASEAN and decide which system should be used, you know, because you will use it for cargo, for transport, you know. We just discussed the railway cost of transport are so much smaller, 25% minimum. So this is a huge chance, you know. We have now huge inflation, not only in Europe, but also here in Asia. So this is chance number one to reduce the transport costs, which are really substantial and really need to be addressed.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, excellent.
That's an awkward question to ask. It's been going along for years and years and years, this question. Just to clarify, okay, all the metros are standard gauge, okay, so that's not an issue. The high-speed rails will be standard gauge. So on to SRT, National Network here. We have to be realistic, though. Yes, it would be nice to have all the same gauge. I was involved in discussions 20 years ago when they were doing the 4 lines project, when they're doing all the regional, looking at double trackings, looking at all these areas. But in reality, it's the financial cost to convert. It's hugely expensive to do that. Secondly, then you might be able to do it in a phased manner, but then you have all the issues of interoperability across the lines. Thirdly, it'd be nice to standard gauge. It gives you certain advantages, freight carrying capacities, slightly faster, etc. But it's not essential. You can operate a national railway on the current gauge at a reasonable speed sufficient for the requirements of it. So it's a fine balancing act, but we can achieve what we need in Thailand with that gauge railway. They've been doing some in Malaysia and other countries. It would be very nice to convert it, but you're talking huge costs, which I don't see be very difficult to justify at this point in time. Maybe they could look at doing some sort of phase on new lines where you have clear interfacing stations, interchange stations. Maybe you could start look at doing that type of system for it. But it needs, at the moment, I believe the policy is not there, so that's not going to happen. But it'd be nice to be able to look along those lines, but it's not happened yet.
But I think we should still address it, because also the other countries are waiting. They want to know, will Thailand connect with meter gauge or with standard gauge, and which systems? So there should be a clear strategy, and each country should have it, and it should be discussed. If they want to stay with meter gauge and save costs, it's also okay. But we need to make future decisions, Otherwise, we cannot optimize. It's impossible.
A number of the countries do have the same gauge, so that the interfaces are there. Where it's high-speed rail, like Laos, etc., the policy already is there. The same gauge, and they have the native interface. So it's a different one to answer that one. But at the moment, I think due to the huge financial cost to do it, it looks like we're going to proceed with this current gauge for SRT. And I say, if there's options to build new lines where you could do it, it'll be interesting to see that explored further.
But there are if you're not sure, there are, for example, sleepers which can accommodate meter gauge and standard gauge. So you could just switch one rail in the future. And if, for example, you build a new rail and you're not 100% sure, for the sleeper track bed, the costs are nearly identical. Then the cost to just switch to standard gauge would not be so high. But then you also need to plan for it. Of course, if you exclude it, you don't not even need to invest into this. But the strategy is the most important.
Right. I think we are talking both short-term and long-term of this kind of solution, right? I think everyone probably agrees that integration, we probably need the same system or similar system for ECE integration. But now with the, partial system that have been developed so far, the existing ones might not be fully integrated with the new version or the future version that what we want to be. There are so many, factors to consider, and I think in the short term, then we probably have to decide what we want to do in the long term. But change probably will occur a bit slowly, perhaps. Do you have something to say? Yeah.
It's not just the gauge, but it's the operations and maintenance of those systems. Every time if you have a partial conventional gauge, every time you build a new line, you've got to build your own depot maintenance facilities just for that particular line. You can't optimize the maintenance and etc. facilities as well. So all these things enter into the equation when you work out the benefits versus the cost effectiveness, etc., of doing that type of solution.
Right. Okay, for me, how to improve the connectivity and efficiency of local railway system in Thailand. I think the first one that we have to do is the coordinated timetables. I think establishing synchronized schedule between local rail service and other transportation modes, such as bus and long distance train, can enhance overall efficiency and reduce the waiting time for the passenger. And the second one is the multimodal hub. Developing multimodal transport hub, where local rail system connect seamlessly with bus service, taxi, and bike sharing program can create a more user-friendly experience for traveler. For the third one is the shared ticket system that we mentioned about implement the unified ticket system across different transportation mode, including the nearby the Thailand. Maybe some we can connect the Laos, can connect the Cambodia. Okay, can simplify the travel process for the passenger and encourage the use of public transport also. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent point. If you look here in Bangkok, at the Green Line, in Munich, for example, in the metro systems, they have a station distance of 1 to 2 kilometers. The S-Bahn, which is serving the suburbs, they have every 5 to 6 kilometers, and the regional train 10 to 20 kilometers, and the high-speed rail 200 kilometer station difference. If you go for the Green Line, it's 60 kilometers, all 2 kilometer station, with a dwell time of around 3 minutes. So you can imagine you're sitting 1 hour while the train is standing still. And the train is not designed, actually it's a mass transit train. You're not supposed to stand for 3 hours. It's very uncomfortable. So the systems are not designed for that. They should be designed for optimum comfort of the passengers. And the other problem is the first and last mile here. For the 60 kilometer, you pay 20 baht. But for the first and last mile, you pay 60 baht each, forth and back. So 120 baht for the first and last mile, and 20 baht for the main ticket. So this is the problem, the feeder system. How to bring the passengers to the stations. You have huge blocks here in Bangkok. There are enough other solutions which you can offer, not only motorbike taxi, which is also very dangerous. There are so many accidents happening. You have also aerial ropeway transit. They can do 9,000 passengers per hour and direction. They are very attractive. They finance themselves. And you have huge distances. You need to bring the passengers to the stations. And have a good transport event for the passenger, that they really don't have to stand for 3 hours only to travel one way, and then after 3 hours they still have to get the motorbike and pay another 60 baht only to go to the destination. So there is a lot of potential to be done.
Yeah, okay. Now we get away from the gauge subject. There's many ways you can provide that integration. One of the things is look at, how do I put that, countrywide transportation, say web portal, which provides single point of booking, information, reservations, etc., for all the different means of transport. That can be implemented. We can use, like we'll talk later, Internet of Things, to make it easier for people to move about between lines to do the bookings. You can have it on your mobile. You can have direct information on your mobiles, etc. We can look at one of the main ones, obviously, is integrated ticketing systems, which are being partially implemented now, and hopefully they're going to progress further, particularly with the local government initiatives. So that you just buy, you can just use a single ticket or whatever to travel anywhere on the metro system, which is partially there now. We know there's reasons why it hadn't been rolled out completely. But then also you can use the same for SRT, you can use the boats, you can use it for the toll roads, all these methods of transport. That's been partially developed now, and hopefully they'll get it more sophisticated later on. Eventually we'll be looking at, you won't even need ticketing systems. You can use your mobile phone, EMV on your phone. Future developments will go even further. They'll be looking just tracking your phone. You never have to pay anything. You'll just work out where you're going. Facial recognition. Oh, okay, he's on that system. All these things are coming, but a bit in the future. So yes, all those areas can be looked at. One of the other main things, obviously, is the station designs. The efficiency of an interchange station, making sure it has easy routes between the different modes of transport. Make sure it's easy to get there, and make sure you have travel agents, etc. We have the issue at the moment, okay, you want to go to the airport, you have to use the blue line, etc., with big baggage. You have to get searched. When you go, I don't know, are they still doing that now? I believe they are. All these issues make it awkward for people to use the system. So how do we improve the ease and efficiency of people using the network? And that's all required to achieve a proper integrated system. And it's not just for passengers. We have freight system, freight. Okay, how do you achieve an integrated freight network? Okay, you have inland container terminals. You can have efficient means of management of the freight from point A to point B. You can look at reducing, using proper, how do I put it, franchises for freight transport, etc. All this helps to improve the integration and efficiency of the national rail network for doing those type of systems, which have been discussed by others. And all these areas need to be considered and planned and then implemented.
Okay, I think you just mentioned many interesting research projects, and before it becoming a group therapy that we discussed why the transportation in Thailand does not really it's not really optimized, and probably we should move on because there are many interesting points, right, that we see in the future. I think many of us have been traveling, or you came from abroad, so you have seen a very optimized system before, but now when we come back to Thailand, everything is a bit individualized, if I may say. Then there must be some way to unify this, and hopefully there are some government officers down there that can address the policy in the future. But okay, let's move on to the next question. Well, how can we use the innovation to actually help, or technology to help with this addressing the local challenge, local transportation challenge, local integration challenge? Sorry, local solution. Sorry,
Okay,
the emerging technology, right?
I'll kick off on that one. It's not actually so much the technology base, it's more actually the policies and commercial issues, I believe it's right here. Some examples of innovative financing techniques is, one example is the GIF, BTS GIF. They use that to fund their projects. So basically, the BTS group have set up a GIF fund. They put the fare box in that fund, okay, minus operation costs, and the revenue from that fund they then use to finance their projects. So that's one alternative way of funding projects, okay, by, say, the private operators. And it can be done on a bigger scale, national. It can be done on a national scale for government organisations, etc. Private funds, which then generate the revenue to fund those railways. And that model's happened in many other countries. Infrastructure funds are quite popular in many places and are proven to be a method of funding railway. However, obviously it is dependent on external factors, how well that fund performs. We had the COVID crisis, we have other issues, ridership goes down, and obviously the revenue from the fare box going to that fund goes down a lot. It's not a very good investment. So all these things need to be carefully thought about. On the PPP front, obviously that's very popular every day. Everyone's going for PPP. But again, it depends what flavour of PPP. The main fund, like who keeps the fare box? Initially in Thailand, it was under the operator kept the fare box and paid for all the expenses out of it. More and more so, the model here and elsewhere is actually the government keeps the fare box and they pay some sort of fixed operational cost to the operator to operate that way. The operator actually has penalties if they don't meet the performance requirements, but that one works. When you also consider that in the scope of what their operator providing, are they just providing operations or are they providing the capital outlay to build a railway? Because that all impacts the risk to the operator. More and more so, it needs to be going, the government provides the infrastructure, the operator operates the railway for a fee, their risks are reduced. Okay, they don't have the opportunity to make so big profit or gains, but their risks are reduced. So in many cases they like that type of method. Moving away from the PPP opportunity, but there's other things that can be kept into that equation, like giving them the advertising rights on the railway. So for funding, they can guarantee they can earn more revenue by having the advertising, doing all the advertising on the train system, etc. Transport-orientated development, that's always a big one for helping to fund the railway. If they can have the rights to develop the developments along the railway, that helps hugely with their commercial case to operate and build that railway. And my prime example being Hong Kong, MRT, MTR rather. They actually, I believe, make more revenue and profit out of the TOD than they do from operating the railway. You know, so it can be proven to be a very good additional cause for operating the railway. Lastly, looking at mainline railways, again, following the models which are popular in other countries now is the owner of the railway, say SRT, they actually own the infrastructure and maintain it, but provide efficient services without the owner having to worry about all those complications. You actually franchise out the services for the passenger service, for the freight services. They obviously pay a percentage to the owner of the infrastructure or to the government, but they take the risk also of commercial conditions that don't work, etc. And that's a very popular model. I know in UK they do it a lot now. Network Rail own the infrastructure, maintain it, but most of the services, freight and passenger, are provided by franchises. So I'll rest my case there.
Wow, interesting financial model. Do you have anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think artificial intelligence, innovations, big data, PPP models, they're all nice, we should follow them up, but they have only a limited optimization level possibility, let's say, at the end, you know, I assume maybe 20, 30%. If we really want to optimize, we really need to optimize hardware. We have corridors, you know, we need to widen corridors, we need to have strategic planning, you know. If we do not have this, we cannot optimize, you know. We really need to look at the stations, you know, at the systems we have, at the rolling stock. You know, if you have different train control systems, the trains cannot communicate with each other. We cannot reduce the headway. Wherever you look, signaling systems, and then the interfaces with other systems again. We need to look at the big picture, you know, and then we can really optimize, and then artificial intelligence, and then big data, they even help more. Just to hope now that the science help us, and just because of innovation, in 5 years' time, the problems of Bangkok and Thailand are solved. This will not be, definitely not. We need to overthink the overall system, and we not rely on future developments. You know, it doesn't mean I'm against it. We should do it. We should do it definitely. You know, but especially with PPP, I would like to mention. You know, most of the PPP projects, these big projects, they are unsuccessful because they are financed anyway 100% by the government. So if you add another private party, you just add another bread earner who also want to earn money. This doesn't give simplicity, it gives more complexity to the project, and you have to pay at the end more to get less. Different for smaller PPP projects, where the private party really take risk and give benefit and maybe also finance the project, like, for example, aerial roadway transit, you know, which really can generate profits. For this, it makes sense, you know. But we did here big PPP projects, you know, which before was done between the consultant, the government authority, and the contractor. Now you have a PPP party, and this PPP party has another 3 more consortium parties. So 6 more parties over a sudden who all want to approve drawings, and the government anyway gives the direction. So PPP, for these kind of projects, PPP has no benefit for Thailand. Only for the smaller one, where the private party really can bring in their knowledge and also take the risk. Then it's also, then it makes sense that they get also some income from it.
I think you're trying to say, like, if the PPP project itself would be financially viable, there would be some business who really want to join anyway, right? But with support or direction, guidance from the government, it would become profitable. But for some projects that might not be financially viable, then PPP projects mean the government will always lose money.
Absolutely. Then you just can have a pure operator as private party. You know, you don't need to transfer rolling stock to the private party. You just let them operate or employ the operators yourself, but you do not have to add other parties to it because they don't take much risk, especially if you talk about PPP gross cost. You know, there's no risk with the contractor, with the operator. So it's only to the benefit of the private party, and that doesn't make sense.
I think one of the issues here we consider as well is subsidies, fares, particularly when you're talking about funding PPPs. If we try to achieve the low fare base, which is beneficial obviously for the population,
Right.
Okay. No, it's very difficult, almost impossible for a private company to operate a railway and make a profit. So then we need to consider the subsidies issue, etc. I just finished recently a feasibility study in the Philippines where the ridership was very low and it needed to be very subsidized. We went out to market sounding, ideally for PPP, various scenarios. So you build a railway, you just operate, etc. And every respondent, well, they asked about TOD. There's no TOD, and say, well, without TOD, it makes it not very attractive. Secondly, he said the potential revenue and risk is too high to build a railway to have all the capital costs. We're prepared maybe to operate it, but not to actually build a cost. But even then, because the line is fairly small, the ridership is small, it was the case, well, maybe we can't just do it for that line. Maybe we need to put it into a basket. Okay, there are 3 more projects. Okay, to make it viable, we'll do the PPP over 2 or 3 lines, potential lines, which are coming through to make it viable. And then again, there are more respondents to that. So it's a very careful balancing act to create the right model and scope of a PPP to make it attractive to the private sector.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, we'd like to hear from the local point of view about the financing model for this railway, which could be very expensive public project.
It's going to be a very different point of view from the experienced ones. I'm going to be speaking more in terms of how a few of different institutions can make that happen. For example, we have been involved in a few campaigns by PMUC where they've granted some budgets for our research and development and new projects and implementations, and that has been a good Kickstarter for manufacturers and makers and local companies like us, and so for sure reviving or creating more campaigns and budget allocations and supports from sectors like that would help a lot, especially, of course, from PMUC, TSRI, or from NIA, or from the NSTDA or MTech. Then that would where manufacturers don't have to put in too large of an in-cash or an in-kind portion, but that financial support would definitely help kickstart a lot of not only SME but also a lot of competent local companies as well. And I do have some messages from Ajahn Top. I do have some messages from Ajahn Top Pirapong Jitsingyam. I had his permission to mention his name. There should also be, in terms of KPI, there should also be a common KPI between the OWO or the MHESI and the Ministry of Transport, to create cross-functional collaborations where, for example, where the MHESI, together with the makers and companies, can facilitate more than, for example, 20% of the components from products made in Thailand, or the Ministry of Transport should at least buy local content of no more than how many percent, depending on the agreements. So that's another example of collaborations that we are really looking forward to see, and should help a lot in terms of R&D as well. And his messages also include that the R&D budget from the government should definitely be more than what it is what it is using right now. I think Ajahn might have a little bit to add to that.
Okay, for me, I think the public-private partnership, or PPP, I think already happened in Thailand. It is the first model project in Thailand. I think already happened. Let me share some idea about how to help the secure necessary funding and resources. The PPP developing framework can allow private sector to participate in funding and operating local railway projects. This can leverage private sector efficiency and innovation while spreading financial risk. And innovative grants programs, the exploring new grant structure from government or international organization dedicated to improving public transport infrastructure can provide additional funding opportunity. And this strategy can attract diverse funding sources and foster collaboration between public and private sector. That is my idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I think PPP in general, if it's the right project, is a good scheme, definitely. But if we look now at the fare of 20 baht for really long distances, you cannot generate sufficient income, to operate a private company. And for those, the subsidies come anyway, 100% from the government. And that's why the government also want to buy back the shares of those companies again. So you have transaction costs and you have more parties involved because the government is still involved and the private party is involved. So you're creating more costs. So for these kind of projects, it does not necessarily make sense. It makes sense if you want to reduce the government debt, because if the private party take the debt, it doesn't list as government debt. That's of course. But in general, it's not that PPP is bad. Definitely not.
Okay, so right. So to move on from the PPP, because we are getting too much to the politics already, and I feel uncomfortable because I still want to keep my job as a professor still, and so we too late now. Sorry. Then the next topic, then we go back to the technology, right? We mentioned before that IoT can be used, the automation, data analytics. Is there a way concretely to implement such system in Thailand, or would that be like another research topic, hint, for the researchers to ask for money from the government to do research? It could be both social research, right, and then the science, technological research. Would you like to say? Anyone want to say?
Looks like I've been volunteered again. Yes. When you look at emerging technologies, more and more so, they can play an important part in a modern railway or any modern transportation industry. We're looking at so many things that can be done with. Okay, you got IoT providing real-time information to passengers on their mobiles, like we discussed before. So a passenger has a mobile, they get notification of delays, trains late, cancellation of services, if there's a problem here, but you can also use it for additional commercial purposes. So you can use it as revenue generation, you can put advertising on top of that, etc. So the IT of things on the public interface using mobile phones is a very popular method, and it's been rolled out in many railways, and airports particularly. It's a very popular one for airports because it works so nicely in an airport environment, Internet of Things on a telephone. But also from the maintenance point of view, management point of view, the operations can use the Internet of Things to actually manage how they react, respond, and provide a service using a mobile phone to all the key employees, etc. That can be implemented as an important management structure platform for the operator. We've already discussed modern ticketing techniques, which can be brought more online with the advanced technologies like EMV, the credit card, which should already be implemented on the MRTA portion of the metro here in Thailand. You can use it on your mobile phone. So that's in fact, you don't even need to use a credit card, etc. Your EMV chip's embedded in your phone, and you can use that to pay to make all your payments, not just for the railway, but you can use your phone as a credit card. So you have a proper e-purse on your mobile phone, and that's integrated with all these solutions that you require. 1 minute, just get my notes back. We have security. Modern video systems can have full video analytics. They can have facial recognition, etc. They can have automated response. That can all be brought online with modern CCTV systems, and then that can be linked into your station management systems to automatically connections to the station staff, etc., etc. The modern systems can facilitate all this sort of enhanced integration and efficiency to improve safety and security for the passengers and the station staff. Building management. I believe it's mentioned somewhere else. Automated building management is a very strong use in a railway. We already have SCADA systems that do the basic operations, etc. But then you a next level of automation on the SCADA system to provide full management of all the environmental control systems, fire systems, emergency systems. You can automate that process, again, using AI, etc., to assist and provide, say, environmental conditions change, rather than someone having to it's done by a simple clock at time. It can dynamically respond to those conditions. All this can be implemented, again, using modern techniques. Maintenance management. You can automate condition monitoring for the railway by using sensors along the railway, by using CCTV to actually baseline and then look for changes of the state of the asset it's looking at. You can have the interface with actual equipment, and then that can all be implemented into a modern, advanced central maintenance management system, which can actually monitor all the faults and then help to automate and organize the actions required. So you can have preemptive maintenance based on that. The system can look at trends to advise you on what's required in the future on your maintenance. You can look at reducing your stocks, your spare stocks. You can reduce your maintenance activities, rationalize that. So all that helps provide reduction in OPEX costs. So all these are examples of where modern technology, modern latest generations technologies can be implemented on the railway to make it more efficient, safer, and cheaper to operate.
Thank you. There are probably more new technologies that you can foresee that can be implemented in the road. Yeah, I think from the research point of view.
Okay. For me, I have some key points to consider about the automation. The automation is implementing automated train operation can improve service efficiency and safety. Automation of routine tasks such as scheduling and maintenance monitoring can also reduce the human error and operation costs. And the second one for the Internet of Things that we call IoT The utilize IoT sensor throughout the railway infrastructure around for the real-time monitoring of train and tracks. This can lead to proactive maintenance, increasing reliability and reducing the downtime due to the unexpected failure. And for the third, the data analytics. Advanced data analytics can optimize operation by analyzing ridership pattern, train schedule, and maintenance needs. This data-driven approach can inform decision-making processes and enhance the resource allocation. And let me provide more information, as I mentioned before about the how to for use the use of the smart ticket system. I think the emerging technology, this emerging technology can facilitate the development of the smart ticketing solution, improving user experience through the mobile apps that allow for the contactless payment and the real-time travel updates. Okay, that is my point. Thank you.
Please.
Yes, I fully agree. And these are all fantastic technologies, which I think they will come very soon, quicker than we believe. And I can see also Thailand is very good in this, in this app development, in these digital technologies, so I'm very confident. But what is more important is even, the infrastructure, like macro and micro simulation, because 80% of the cost is infrastructure, is the tunnels, the viaducts, the station, And if they need to be modified, we need to make 100% sure that this is the correct solution. Because if they are not correct, also efficiency increases of 10-15% will not compensate for that, So these technologies, digital twin, macro simulation, micro simulation, real-time data, which really help us to understand the real situation and the real needs and to predict the future, these are very important and we should put the focus on that.
Okay, that's the idea of trying to doing the real-time monitoring and doing the planning in advance, right? Very, very interesting. So there are many rooms and challenges that we can implement new technologies in terms of improving our existing railways and probably in the future railways as well. Now, the last topic that we would like to cover in this talk is about sustainability, which is a hot topic these days. So how can a local railway solutions be designed to be more sustainable, both environmentally and economically in the long run? Anyone would like to start? Okay, we start from Dr. Phai.
To address the design of a sustainable local railway solution, I think the first thing is the energy efficiency. Implementing energy efficiency technology, such as regenerative braking system and energy efficient train design, can significantly reduce energy consumption and operational costs over time. And the second one is the renewable energy sources. Utilizing renewable energy sources such as the solar or the wind power to operate the rail system can help decrease reliance on fossil fuel and lower carbon emission. And incorporating solar panel at the station, maybe in the future in Thailand, and along tracks in one practical approach. And the third is the life cycle assessment. The conducting life cycle assessment when planning new railway project can identify environmental impact at every stage, from construction to operation and maintenance, enabling more informed decision making that prioritizes sustainability. And the last one is the eco-friendly material. The choosing a sustainable material for construction and maintenance can decrease the the environmental impact that we call the climate change or global warming, and now boiler warming. Okay, this includes using the recycled material and locally sourced option to reduce the transportation emission. That is all my sharing. Thank you.
Okay. While we are loading slides, which hopefully happen at some point, okay, then we probably would like more comments from you guys.
I would like to mention, with regard to CO2 impact, you know, what people don't realize, 80%, for example, for high-speed rail is coming from the, also from, not, the costs are 80%, but CO2 emissions are also from the concrete, from the viaduct, you know. Sometimes it takes 30, 40 years to be CO2 neutral if you have a split consumption of combustion and electric, you know. If it is pure electric, green anyway, purely photovoltaic, you cannot even compensate for that anymore, you know. So you see the big impact is the physical construction. So we really need to optimize the physical construction to reduce the CO2 impact, you know. Make it as slim as possible. And these systems then, they need to have a huge life expectancy, not 30 years, but 80 years. You know, now Orange Line is 10 years in construction, life expectancy 30 years. So basically we lose 30% already, and we emit 30% of CO2 for nothing without utilizing the system.
Now we try to do 100 years.
Yes, as long as possible, sure. Yeah. And for this also, again, the digital twins help. And especially for rail transport, I think for Thailand, it is 100% a must to have electrification.
Basically, that needs to be right from the manufacturer all the way through to decommissioning, okay? So you need to think about when you build something, when you actually construct it, how do you, maybe using recyclable materials, consider the future recycling, low carbon input, manufacturing processes, right the way through to when it's finished an operation, at the end of life. You design it so it's easy to recycle, okay? All these things can be very useful for the environment. You know, we're talking green branding, etc. here. Yeah, energy sources. We can look at using low power energy sources. So we have LED lighting. All the equipment can be designed to standards of low energy consumption. This all helps reduce the power it takes. Solar power is an obvious one. Can be used for, particularly for daytime operations, but also can be used for water heating and depots. Your train wash, all your water heating, you can use solar-powered water heaters. It's been done on a number of depot complexes I know, which helps reduce costs. However, solar power has its limitations, nighttime, obviously. So you could look at implementing energy banks, which been adopted in a number of countries. I know China's got them for whole towns using an energy bank. You implement an energy bank for the railway or at the stations to charge up by the solar during the day, and that provides the power. Problem there is expensive, so it's an interesting cost-benefit analysis on that one. Is it effective or not? It's been looked at here before in Thailand, and the cost-benefit analysis didn't work, but it is a possible one. That can also work for regenerative energy. Regenerative energy, number one, you design your alignment so it maximizes the benefits for one of your trains. So you come to a station, it goes up when it's braking. When you're at a station, it goes down when it's accelerating. That all helps save energy. And then obviously how you operate your trains to maximize the regeneration. You regenerate energy, but it's got nowhere to go. It's a waste of time. So that needs to be maximized. And then you can look at also having capacitive battery banks for the traction power, but that's a very complicated and expensive subject. But you can use it for pumping, or your water pumping and drainage, etc. You can use high efficient solar pumps to maximize the efficiency of it. And lastly, where are we? Okay, train power. At the moment, metros, or main line, are actually using OCS for as well. Now we're coming to the point, particularly for light railways, because they have other issues where they do safety reasons, etc. You can't have OCS and power, where they're looking at alternative ways of powering those trains. So we have battery trains, power trains, and we have hydrogen trains. That can be, hopefully in the future, used actually for a metro line eventually. So you get better efficiency, but remember, it's only cheap and better if the source of that energy supply is also green. Okay, but they can be used. They can be used for those type of implementations. It can even be used for main line. Examples of what's happening with hydrogen trains. I know in Sarawak, Malaysia, they're implementing the first hydrogen LRT system there. A friend of mine from Malaysia is actually implementing it, which is going to use actually their Chinese-based hydrogen trains. So that reduces the cost and improves efficiency and the green brand and environmental concerns. Second example is mainline trains. Hitachi has just started doing trials on battery-powered mainline trains in the UK. So even there, it's achievable. We say, okay, maybe the modern advances in battery technology mean it's becoming more practical. Their longevity, duration, and the charge time. So you can use them and you can actually charge them up maybe, okay, terminal stations at certain midline points in the depots, so you can achieve an effective means. Thirdly, the capital saving by not needing the OCS or third rail is a big capital saving by implementing these solutions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think.
May I have one more comment?
Please.
Because, sorry for, in Thailand, the same formwork is used since 20, 30 years for viaducts, And I just want to recommend on tomorrow at 3 p.m., Dr. Sun from Sun Engineering, he's a bridge expert. He managed to reduce the amount of concrete for viaducts to 40%. This is really a big achievement, and if you're interested in this, please be invited to participate tomorrow.
Is it Thursday? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Here in the conference. Okay.
Second day session. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Right. And yep.
So for the manufacturer and maker side, completely agree with all the recycled materials, recycled rubber, recycled plastics, reforging steel, right, and reclaimed rubber for sure. I do have some success cases examples from our company, SK Polymer. We are a leading manufacturer of rubber components for the railway systems. We actually started from rubber parts for automotive and electrical electronics, medical device industries, and then for now, we're focusing on some of our projects for the railway systems that we did. This is the platform gap filler. It is a rubber block with the steel plate that gets installed at the edge of the platform to fill the gap between train and platform. And this one has been installed at the airport rail link for over 5 years. And so this is the great example of the use of natural rubber, which is a really sustainable material, to answer your question for the sustainable material that we talked about, because Thailand has plenty supply for natural rubber. This is for the safety of all passengers and pets and all the things that would be able to fall through the gap between train and platform. One sentence comedy for the day. It's easier to sell to the USA compared to more projects in Thailand. So for this platform gap filler here, we are also exporting to the US as well. The next example is the rubber level crossing. This is a great collaboration supported by Washaw, and we collaborate with the KMITL from Ajahn from Lat Krabang, as well as ERP company, another member of the Thai Subcon Association, to make possible this rubber level crossing, and it is already installed at 2 projects in the south in Hat Yai. It would be filling the the intersections between the roads and the train tracks. Sorry, it's getting late in the afternoon. And so that's another use of natural rubber and sustainable products. And so that was in terms of environmentally sustainable. But in terms of economically, the other way, I mean, I kept saying that we need to support made in Thailand products, but that doesn't mean that it has to come only from Thai people. We're not anti-FDI. Like, we're okay with foreign direct investments, but and there are also great possibilities that could happen, such as competent Thai manufacturers can actually partner up or M&A or joint venture with experienced international companies who would like to invest in Thailand as well, or expand their manufacturing capacity into Thailand. And that would create more technology transfer, and of course, elevate the competitiveness of both Thai companies and the experienced international companies. So that would have a huge economic impact and growth. Oh, sorry, I'm not talking about my slide. For example, we are a proud member of Thai Subcon Association. It's a group of, we have over about almost 500 members right now, and it's a group of makers for all industries: steel, steelwork, metalworks, rubber, plastics, electronics, components, packaging, logistics, and IT. And so we're also, our members and clusters. We have the railway clusters going on, and so we're also pushing everything that we talk about today to help make that happen. So we're really looking forward to seeing everything we just said, and we're completely supporting all of that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. There are many issues that we discussed so far, from policies, integration, and unification of all the systems, standardization, in terms of research, integrating technology, sustainability. But I think I have been notified that we still have a bit of time for a few questions from the floor, perhaps, if you don't mind. Do you? Guess they cannot say no. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free. Anyone want to add or ask any of our panelists? Any questions? Guess this typical Thai silence. We have a bit. Okay, you have questions? Okay, never mind. All right then. If there is no further question, we can have a longer break. Then I've been notified that the coffee break will start right in front of the room again, and next talk will begin at 3:30. I think that is pretty much the time that we have and all the topics that we would like to cover for the section. I hope that these discussions that we have on the stage here will encourage more questions and discussions, especially on the development of the railways in Thailand, local solution for the railway system in Thailand. There are many challenges ahead, and there are many possibilities that we can work together to achieve those goals together. All right, without further ado, I would like to thank all the panelists and all the audiences for this session today. Thank you, and see you next time.